Alright, next up in the Heat Check series is potentially my favorite prospect in the entire 2023 cycle, Arkansas freshman Anthony Black. The highest ranked true point guard in the 2022 high school class, Anthony Black is 1/3 of the Razorbacks' 5-star trio and was the 14th ranked prospect overall per RSCI. He's a sturdy, 6'7" guard who has kind of functioned as the glue holding this Arkansas team together. Side note, some people think he's not quite 6'7". I personally think he absolutely looks 6'6" or 6'7" for clarity, but we'll see when he measures. Also, he is a guard. He's been compared to some point forwards of years past. I want to put that to rest. He is 100% a guard. He's averaging 12.8 points, 5.1 rebounds, 4.2 assists, and 2 steals per game while shooting 46.5% overall, 31% from 3, and just shy of 70% from the charity stripe. Here's how Heat Check works. I will identify one NBA draft prospect and grade what I believe to be their 5 most generally important skills regarding the NBA: scoring, defense, passing and playmaking, athleticism, and overall feel for the game. Since no two prospects are alike, I'll grade a few additional areas specific to that player deemed the swing skills. Each skill will be graded on the Heat Check chart, with ranges from cold all the way to scorching. When that's all said and done, I'll divvy out one final overall score that will have absolutely no bearing or real-world effect on said player whatsoever. Starting with athleticism, I'm feeling warm on AB. He's not exceptionally explosive or vertical, but he's got some lift on him for sure. He probably won't stand out a ton in the NBA for the right or wrong reasons, which is just fine for his playstyle. He'll likely just be an average athlete in the league. He's not necessarily springy or quick twitch, but he's really smooth and just has a nice little mix of everything that he uses to his advantage well. He does a great job of leveraging his athleticism outside of just transition buckets, rising up when driving or getting as high as he can on offensive boards. More than anything, he seems pretty coordinated with his overall movement. Alright, on to scoring. I'm feeling cool on Anthony Black's scoring. The numbers overall look fine, but the eye test just doesn't feel natural enough to be instantly translatable to the NBA. To this point, he hasn't been a volume scorer for the Razorbacks. He's taking just 9 shots per game and scoring on 46% of those. He absolutely can score. He's got 4 games with 20 plus, 11 with 15 plus, and so on, but scoring in bunches or at will just is not his bread and butter. But it certainly can be a weapon at times. He's at his best as a scorer when he's cutting and driving to the rack and as a pick and roll handler. He's finishing on 59% of his shots at the rim, a pretty good mark. Like I said earlier, he's not necessarily speedy, but there's definitely some swiftness in his ability to accelerate to the paint and up to the rim. I think he does a good job of honing in on the basket, absorbing contact, and he's got a little more touch than he's given credit for at that range. His handle is a work in progress, but he can use that kind of probing style at times, especially in the PNR, but his lack of real speed doesn't mix with it to create much space for shots. Regardless of that, he's physical and generally takes great angles, so he can still find ways to get shots off. Per synergy, he ranks very good as a PNR ball handler and as a cutter, but poor in isolation. There's not a lot to work with in the mid-range just yet. He's shooting 33% on runners, and it doesn't feel like one fluid motion. When he does create space, he hasn't shown premier ability to score off the dribble. As far as his outside shooting, he's shooting just 31% on threes. He's certainly not a non-shooter, but suffice to say his perimeter skill set just isn't a major threat right now. We'll get more into that later. In terms of the NBA, it's just kind of a hodgepodge of a scoring package. A good cutter who functions well in the pick and roll, but isn't great in isolation or spotting up. It's pretty specific, but given the right surrounding pieces, I think it could definitely work. Defensively, I'm feeling a grade of hot on AB. He might just be the best perimeter defender in this class. That very same horizontal swiftness carries over to the defensive side of the ball, making him a complete menace. He's really anticipatory, and he just has a great understanding of defense overall. Looking at his counting stats and defensive playmaking, he's averaging a full 2 steals per game and 0.6 blocks. He uses his length and instincts to grab a lot of those, and it almost seems like he's anticipating generating offense out of that. A bizarre amount of his steals look like he's already positioning himself to run in transition or looking to get the ball to someone who is. On ball is probably where he's at his best. He's got a sturdy base, active hands, great footwork. He fights really hard through screens and does a great job of just being pesky. He's way less movable than he looks. He's shifty enough. I think he'll do a great job on NBA guards, but I think he'll be able to size all the way up to threes in some scenarios as well. Off ball, he plays a little bit like a nickelback in football. He's got impeccable awareness and is always acutely aware of how the offense is moving and shifting, and he's kind of given free rein to blitz and ball hawk. He loves poking and jabbing at the ball, and he's really just got a nose for it and when to strike. This is just one of the many ways I think he makes up for his lacking offense. He can essentially generate points via his defense. I'm feeling hot on Anthony Black's passing and playmaking. If he's not the best passer in this class, he is close. He is by definition a pass-first player. He's got a positive 135 assists to 102 turnovers. He has great vision and pretty quick processing speed. He's got several different types of passes in his arsenal that he can apply varying degrees of touch to at any given time. He's phenomenal at fitting the ball through tight windows, and he's a really good passer playmaker off ball too, without needing a ton of handling to do so. He's really good at those quick-fire swing passes. He's improvisational, he can be deceptive with his vision. I think passing and playmaking wrinkles like this are some of the most unteachable skills in basketball, and his game is just laden with them. NBA spacing is going to do wonders for this particular skill. Arkansas's current configuration has close to no shooting threats, but he doesn't necessarily just need shooters either. He's great at pinpointing dimes in a player's catch radius and throwing lobs too. The playmaking, we've covered some already. He's an adept screen navigator. He'll be able to make his teammates better from anywhere on the court. There are a few improvement points here keeping me from a scorching grade: pass strength, accuracy, and limiting turnovers, all of which I think will improve with time and consistency within an organization. He doesn't quite have the zip that elite passers have just yet. His accuracy could use some tuning up, and he's got to limit the turnovers if he wants primary duties in the NBA, opposed to just the connector role. I'm actually feeling scorching on AB's unquantifiable feel for the game. Be it offense or defense, his feel for the game just constantly shines through in these "what did I just witness" type moments. He makes incredibly advanced plays look easy and effortless, something I take into account when grading prospects. Do they make the game look easy or hard? And at times the game just visibly comes naturally to him. Feel isn't some learnable skill, so when you've got it, it's a major selling point, and he's got it. His grasp on basketball at 19 years old is absolutely something I am willing to bet on. Alright, the swing skills. Let's jump back into AB's shooting. This is one of the sole things keeping him from that truly elite tier of players. He's shooting 31% on just 2.5 attempts per game, and he's shooting around that very same percentage on all of his catch and shoot shots. It's not some unworkable number, but there are some issues here that really give me pause on his shooting upside. Starting with mechanics, they're pretty clunky. It feels segmented rather than a smooth motion. He's got some of that push shot stuff going on. The trajectory is really flat, and it seems like he needs to get his legs involved quite a bit more. I can usually deal with one or maybe two of these things, but when you've got several improvement points in one area that should come naturally, it's a pretty tough thing to get past. I think he takes good shots for the most part. He's not chucking for the sake of chucking. Some might look at that as, hey, that's high IQ stuff, he won't shoot you out of games. Others may think, then why do his numbers still look bad? Lastly, his mid-range touch and free throw numbers aren't astounding, usually some indication of outside touch. He's got some of the same power issues on floaters and runners. He does get to the line a good amount, 5 times per game, which is a great skill for someone like him to have, and he's hitting on 70% of those. Again, not a terrible number, but to feel great about his outside upside, you'd like that number to be higher. Positive takeaways here are he's got a better starting point than a few guys of his archetype. He's got enough of that natural feel that some might feel comfortable betting on the shooting coming around, but as stated previously, I don't think it's completely damning that he's not going to be some lights-out shooter. He can do so much as a passer, playmaker, and defender that even if he's only hitting 1 3 per game, he's going to contribute so much to winning basketball. The problem will be defenders sagging and going under screens, which we've already seen some at the college level. He just has to get to a respectable number. The grade. I've given Anthony Black a grade of 8.3, which I believe would land him somewhere within the 5 to 8 range in the 2023 draft. I know I'm much higher on him than the consensus. I just personally really value the jumbo playmaker connector archetype. I'm sure there's plenty of people turned off by his lack of scoring gravity, and I totally get that knock. I just see a pathway to success in the NBA even without it. I project him to be a long-time connective NBA starter who can thrive both on-ball and off-ball in the right situation. Even without an outside shot, he offers a ton of value, and if those numbers ever improve, we're likely looking at an all-star caliber player. That is just something I'm really willing to bet on in a draft that seems filled with good role players, but a little less star potential. I think any team in dire need of a lead or secondary ball handler that already has some scoring, looking at you, Rockets, Spurs, and Magic, that misses out on Scoot or Amen Thompson, should feel pretty comfortable with Black as a consolation prize. That's it for this one. Let me know what you think of Anthony Black, one of my favorite prospects in the 2023 draft. Drop who you want to see in the next heat check, and we'll see you next time.